Gwynn Jr., Matt Scraby together in our Odyssey Palace studios here in San Diego, California. Got a couple of hours to hang out with you before Monday Night Football. A doozy tonight, the Cleveland Browns and the Denver Broncos coming your way to wrap up week number 13 of the National Football League. We'll get into plenty of NFL stuff. We've got our good, bad, and ugly for you a little bit later on. But much more pressing matters to get to. First of all, good to be back in the country, guys. I must tell you.
How was Mexico?
I know Cancun sounds incredible. It was great. But it's still always good to be back in the USA, I must tell you. Yeah, it was fun. We had a good trip. Team played well. A lot of downtime.
Did you use your downtime well?
If you mean just lying around doing pretty much nothing and eating,
Yes.
then I used my downtime very well. Yes, that's pretty much what I did for 5 or 6 days. So I'm back on the SD Fat Loss program here, beginning this morning. You know what I mean?
Don't worry about it, Chris.
Beginning this morning.
I ate myself a new Scraby over the weekend.
I'm sure everybody ate quite a bit and hopefully enjoyed the Thanksgiving holiday. I know the San Diego State men's basketball team did. Could not be more excited about what they did in Las Vegas last week, especially what they did on Saturday. I mean, beating the number 6 team in the nation. And, I mean, coming from behind to do it, Tony. They were down 11 in the second half. You're not supposed to win that game, even against a team that's not number 6 in the nation. Houston returned 80% of its scoring from last year's number 1 tournament seed.
Yeah.
And the Aztecs returned basically Miles Bird, who was their 7th man. And they beat them in the 6th game of this season. I mean, how quickly can a team come together to be able to do that? Brian Dutcher, incredible. Well done.
Well, we said that, I think it was when we had Mark on. We'll have Mark on in the 3 o'clock hour today. I think Mark was the one that said we'll find out how good or where this team is at after this term because of the competition.
Yeah.
They beat Creighton by 18. They had a tough game against Oregon that Oregon pulled away, who, although wasn't a top 25 team, is a top 25 team now.
Because Oregon won the championship.
They won the whole thing. They ran through that whole tournament.
They beat Alabama after they beat the Aztecs. They went from number 38 in the nation last week to number 12.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess Oregon's pretty good.
So that's
and then, you know what? The Aztecs came back. They came home. They didn't
did.
stay in Las
They did.
Vegas.
They did.
Brian Dutcher said, we got 2 days. I want my kids sleeping in their own beds. And flew back to San Diego, then flew back to Las Vegas. And Brian Dutcher knows, what he's doing. And his guys go out there.
Man.
Yeah, I mean, everybody. I didn't get a chance to see. What do you call it, Scraby? The app that is illegal that helps you get out of market
Probably
games.
wouldn't bring that up on the air, but okay.
I'm not saying what it is. I'm just saying it didn't work as well as I had wanted it to. So I didn't really get to watch much of the Houston game, but I was following it closely. And
how were you following it? Were you following on like the phone where it just pops up with like a dot on the court?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
The ball like going
Yeah,
to
it just goes up and then it like
God, I hope this goes in. Yeah, we were all sitting at dinner and where they're down by 5, they're down by 3, they're down by 2. And then so yeah, it was kind of that way.
It was a really well played game. One of the things Houston is known for is their physicality.
Yeah.
And the first thing that you started to notice through the first 7 to 8 minutes was Aztecs might be more physical than Houston was.
Really?
And then all of a sudden, Farrell Compton, man, the freshman of the week in the Mountain West, phenomenal. His energy, felt at times he was bullying whoever that was down there for Houston at time. And then obviously Miles Bird, man, he put the finishing touches on it at the end, but he had a well-played game. Just all the way around.
And Boyd.
That team was
Boyd once again.
I mean, 1 through 9 that participate have an effect on the game.
This is the same thing we say every winter.
Yeah.
I mean, the Aztecs just keep on doing this year after year. The only bad news, if you're, the Aztecs, is that honestly now we expect you to have another great season. You don't have a choice now. I was willing to give them a little time to kind of get this whole new team together and, just take it easy. And if you lose a game or two, it's okay with me.
Right.
Because I know where you've been and I know where you're going to go. And I'm willing to give you some time to get there. But now you're beating Houston. It's like, I'm not waiting around now.
You're proving that you need no time.
Yeah,
at this
let's
point.
go. I mean, for their efforts, the Aztecs were ranked number 24 today in the poll. That's probably a few spots too low, but it is a spot ahead of UConn.
I tell you what,
which fell from number 2 to 25.
I happened to see the CBS top 25 banner pop up on my phone. I'm thinking, all right, article about top 25.
Right.
It goes into a live feed of Andy Katz, and he is just going in on the top 25.
Really?
He was irritated that UConn and North Carolina were in the top 25 at all.
UConn doesn't deserve it
He
after what
felt
they
like
did last
San Diego
week.
State should have been ranked ahead of Houston. However, however they ended up putting it down. So Houston ended up being 17.
I think so.
He felt like San Diego State should have been ranked higher.
We beat them. I mean, this is where the preseason rankings do a disservice
100%.
to everybody.
This is what we
Because
complain
Oregon
about
wasn't
every
ranked.
year.
Well,
Right.
Oregon is clearly the best team in the tournament, or at
Right.
least right up there.
with some of the top tier talent too.
I mean,
And
Houston, Alabama, Creighton, these were top 10 teams when the season began. Yeah, I know Creighton was 21 when they played them, but Creighton was 10 at the beginning of the season. So the Aztecs basically beat 2 top 10 teams in a 4-day span. Probably deserves a better ranking than what they got,
And
considering their
lost to
losses
another
are to
top 15
Gonzaga
team, right.
and Oregon, who are both top 10.
Right.
So, and the great thing about this is that the Aztecs are out there playing with these teams.
Yeah.
The Aztecs have played 6 games this year. 4 of them again against arguably top 10 teams.
Right.
Gonzaga, Oregon, Creighton, and Houston. They're all at one time in the top 10. The Aztecs have played 4 games. How fun is that for us to get to watch them and then get to enjoy the fact that they win a few of them too?
Yeah, it was again, it's always fun to see them competing like that. But maybe it's just that even though we say we're used to it, we still watch a game like them compete against Houston and you're like, oh, we're perhaps better than this team on the floor right now.
Yeah, I don't know, how great we're going to be this year, but the expectations have gone through
just
the roof.
went up, for sure.
Sorry, Dutch. Now you don't have time to bring it along slowly. Mark Zegler will join us. Miles Bird, I believe, is scheduled for the show tomorrow too.
Yeah.
So Aztec
240.
fans, that'll be fun. One other thing that happened while we were gone, was that what are they calling it? The Padre fans are calling it a what?
Snell out.
As opposed to a sellout.
Correct.
I see.
I agree with that.
Former Padre Blake Snell has gone to the dark side. I think everybody's aware of this. Now he's a Dodger. I can't blame the guy. They're giving him as much money as anybody could give a guy. The thing is I think there's a fair argument. Tony, we've had this discussion. If players want to defer their money, that's good. But maybe if every player on a single team is deferring their money, baseball needs to take at least a look at this. I don't know. We sound like we're crying over spilt milk here in San Diego. I don't think there's any other way to say it. We sound like we're whining. But let's just get past that for a second. Is it best for baseball that a team like the Dodgers is already spending more money by a long shot than anybody is given the ability to spend even more because of these deferred contracts? Is that good for the game? Anyone?
No.
I know what Scraby's opinion is.
My opinion is I'm not mad at Blake Snell at all.
No.
Because as you said, they offered him the money. He took it.
Yeah.
I am perturbed that Blake Snell decided to join the super team, which changes my opinion about people and the hunger that they have, but
I have
doesn't
no
matter.
problem.
He's a rich man and he's
I have
pitching
no
for the
problem
Dodgers.
joining a super team. I'm wondering, Tony, go ahead. I mean, if you totally disagree, let me know. I mean, Ohtani's deferring hundreds of millions of dollars.
680 million.
Snell's doing the same thing. Edmonds doing the same thing. He just got re-signed. I mean, this is giving the Dodgers the ability to spend even more than they're already spending. And I think the people are, I could be wrong, but the people who defend the Dodgers say, hey, every other team could spend that kind of money. And I would say to you, the Padres tried, and they ended up having to take out, what was it, a $50 million loan to cover their losses?
I don't remember the exact.
Right?
Yeah, but they did have to take out a loan, which is common practice in.
It's common
baseball.
practice, but I mean, if you try to keep up with the Joneses, you may not.
Tony's been.
I know,
way
he's
too quiet.
strangely silent.
I don't know what is happening over
Well, I
there.
think he's totally disagreeing with us. I think that's what it is. And he's trying to figure out the way to easily let us down easy.
You know me too well, Chris. I don't know. I can't wrap my mind around like whining that another team is able to sign who they sign.
Yeah, I know.
just can't. I mean,
Fair.
I think about like for those local folks, right? I went to Poway High, good baseball program. I was in the same league as Rancho Bernardo, which at the time was consistently hit with rumors that they recruited players because they were the best team in the country, not just
Right. Every time.
And even as a high school kid, and this goes for all my teammates, I can't imagine one time any of us being like, "Oh man, it's over. We can't take the field today. This team is just they got all the best. They got this player who's number 1 in baseball prospect. They have this player that's number 5." And I just, the deferred money is just another way. Because here's the deal: Blake Snell, there's no report that he's deferring any of his money.
No, he is.
How much is he deferring?
$65 million, I believe. He gets $15 million payouts.
Oh, he got the bonus, right? He got the $50 million signing
He deferred
bonus.
$65 million, and then he got the signing bonus, $52 million. But he's basically going to cost the Dodgers $32 million a year.
There are so many
36.
tentacles to why this is beneficial for the player and why they would want to do it. I mean, remember, we live in California. I mean, the taxes here are completely a disadvantage to most West Coast teams that are in California. This is a way to maybe kind of avoid some of that, and still be able to sign to a place that ultimately you want to be in. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Just to me, it doesn't sit well to maybe not cry, but feel like you're being, treated unfairly because the Dodgers are able to get these guys to defer money. I don't know what it is that is all of a sudden making guys defer money.
The buy-in that they can win a championship with more good players.
So there you go. Is that a bad sell?
It's not a bad sell. It's not what the luxury tax. I don't think anybody had this in mind when they set this all up.
Remove the luxury tax because people have been deferring money way back to Bobby Bonilla's day. There was no luxury tax thing back then. So
Bobby Bonilla's making $1 million. Like, I don't think $680 million of a $700 million contract is what the rule had in mind when they started it. Which
I don't think
they
it matters.
should have.
I don't think it matters.
Okay.
If whether you're signing for $350 or $700, if you decide to defer whatever money you're deferring, it's going to help the ball club you're signing with. So
yes, I get that.
Maybe these guys starting trends, and maybe all these teams need to start checking in. If it's better for both sides to defer, because I'm sure, despite them being able to sell it as, listen, we'll be able to win championships and keep putting a good team out there. There's some kickback on the other side by them being able to have this money sitting in that account collecting interest all those years.
Of course. What's going to happen when they actually have to pay the bill?
That will be on them. And at some point, that's going to come, and maybe it cripples them for the rest of baseball's time.
So they're going to have to pay for salaries and then pay on back salaries.
I've already told you, Scraby, that in 19 years, the Los Angeles Dodgers are going bankrupt.
I know.
And Ohtani and Snell and all the rest of them are going to be dead in the street. They're not going to get a thing.
They're going to go through Chapter 11.
Yeah,
the Dodgers.
It's a big risk these guys are taking.
If it doesn't end up going down the way Chris says it's going to go down, that would tell us that it's beneficial to teams to do it that way and for players to do it that way. and I can't stress the California point, because a lot of players, not just in baseball and other sports, would love to play in California, but won't because it's expensive, and it's a far less lucrative deal in California versus, say, Florida, or versus, say, Arizona, or versus, say.
Why do you think the golfers all live in Arizona and Florida? There's no income tax,
right?
And they can
so
pull those games. But like, is I guess we don't know this in this room, but is the money being taxed in 10 years on those taxes?
That's a question for what is it, CPA?
Somebody a little smarter on this than us.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Just a little smarter than us. All right. Well, Blake Snell is a Dodger. The Padres, look, I mean, the ball's in your court. Blake Snell's not the only good player that was available this offseason. And, in kind of agreeing to a certain extent with Tony's point, nothing to keep the Padres from signing a guy and having him defer a bunch of money.
By the way.
And bringing him in.
By the way, I heard the same exact, I should use a better word than crying, disappointment
There you go.
in how this was going this time last year.
Of course.
And
it was all new to us.
And all that happened was the Padres were seemingly the better team, even with those same deferred payments.
Yeah.
Ultimately, the product has to play on the field.
I think ultimately what Tony's trying to say is we can be a little upset because we didn't get the guy. We can be a little upset that the Dodgers do have this much money and they just so happen to be our rival, but we don't need to act like Danny Hurley. Right?
You mean crying?
That's a name. That's a name specific to Chris Ello, right?
Throwing yourself on the floor? That's what 4-year-olds do. Not a two-time champion college basketball coach.
We might have to get the book out, apparently.
I think we do need to get the book out. But is this my other thought, other than how much was deferred when I saw the news, was this is not a good signing, I don't think. 5 years, $182 million. I know he's a 2-time Cy Young Award winner. We've seen his second half struggles.
I just want to note that you contributed to taking this first segment to 218.
I
just wanted to point that out.
We're back from break, and this is a very good conversation because I think it's something I have been thinking about, no joke, since it broke an hour after the Scraby Show. Thank you, Dodgers. At least do it 2 hours before the end of the day, and then I could talk about it. But
right. Well, there is no Scraby Show tonight. There is a Monday Night Football game. We got to get headed that way. Good, bad, and ugly. So everything from Week 13 of the NFL. We haven't touched on the league yet, but we will have plenty of NFL talk at the bottom of this hour. But when we come back, more on the Aztecs. Great week and some stories from Cancun. Pass them along as Gwynn and Chris continues on 97.3 The Fan.
When it comes to
2:25 on the clock. Tony Gwynn Jr., Chris Ello, Matthew Scraby. My man Chris Ello was out of the country.
Yeah.
He said he had some.
They let me back in.
They did let you back in clearly.
Would have been back home about 25 minutes earlier last night. Were it not for a disturbance on the plane.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
We're still having these, huh?
I wasn't a part of it, so
Did you have to go to the bathroom and you
was
couldn't get
popping-
up out of your seat?
that happens often to me actually, but that's
Okay.
not the disturbance.
Please
I'm
don't be
talking
the guy
about.
who gets up when the seatbelt light is on to go to the bathroom. Clearly, when we're
So-
still climbing.
Sometimes you got to go to the bathroom.
The
man.
seat, when we're climbing, you're supposed to stay in your seat anyway.
That's not what I did.
I know.
In fact, I did nothing at all here. What I want to know from
I'll
you
get- I'll
guys
get
is
back
what
to
you
you
would
on
do,
that.
Scrape. I want to know I know what Tony and I would do. We would just sit idly by and hope the authorities would come.
The authorities.
But what would Scraby do? What would Scraby do in this situation? Got on the plane last night, very much near the back. It was the Southwest. You sit where you want. But I had, one of those high
Get
seat number things.
When are
so
they going to the new?
Apparently
next year.
soon.
This next year.
Apparently
Next
soon,
year.
yeah. So I went pretty much near the back, maybe 3 or 4 rows from the back. And speaking of the restroom, I thought I'd use it before we took off.
Thanks for that.
You're welcome. Well, it's part of the story. I went to the restroom, and the flight attendant said, "Can't go in there." Somebody destroyed the restroom.
Oh.
Destroyed as in they broke stuff, pulled stuff out.
Didn't know exactly at that point.
Okay,
but
what
went back
destroy
and
was?
sat down.
Okay.
And no, that wasn't it either.
Really? Wow.
As it turned out. Behind me, in the rows, 2 rows from the restroom, was drunk girl. And I mean,
Coming back from Cancun.
well, like when that maybe you think somebody's drunk and you go, well, they
Yes.
sound like they're a little drunk. And then there's the people that person's drunk.
Yes. Like Christina from our remote that one time.
Similar. This girl was so annoying, so
gosh.
loud. Her boyfriend was trying to ease her back a little bit. And I was thinking, the authorities got to come because I can't say anything. I mean, would
You
you
haven't
say?
taken off yet?
Would you? No, we haven't taken it off yet. Would you say something, Scraby? By the way, would you go get somebody? Would you let this happen right behind you? I know Tony and I are probably not the type to.
Wait, was she being unruly?
Yeah, just
Yes.
Tony. If you would have sat there and go, I got 4 hours with this woman behind me.
Oh, it's one
I'm
of
gonna
those.
lose my mind. She was slurring. She was swearing. She was loud. She didn't care. She go, I don't care. That kind of stuff.
When you're in that point of drunkenness, it's
so,
a bad point.
Scraby, are you doing something? Are you getting somebody?
This
I
is
don't care.
this is
That
hilarious.
kind of, yeah.
This is hilarious because back in my drinking days, I was on a flight home from Las Vegas, and my friend, as we were taxiing, someone went to the flight attendant and asked to have us let off the plane. And so I got to stay on the plane, actually.
You got
But
to
my
stay.
friend got kicked off the plane because someone had talked about her.
Okay.
Thinking back about that, it was the right move. Would I say anything today?
Yeah.
Yes,
You would.
I would.
Well,
And here's what I
that's-
would say.
So not a surprise.
Well, here's what I would say is
who would you talk to?
I would talk to one of the flight attendants, and I would say
How would you talk to them? Because they're already in the back of the plane. She's right there in row. Would you ask the flight attendant, hey, can you walk forward with me about 6 rows? Because I got to tell you something.
No, she's not paying attention to me in the back. Come on.
Oh, yes, I am.
Well, she can't understand English at this point, so.
It was bad.
No, what I would do is I would go back there and I'd be like, I don't want to cause a big deal, but if I could move my seat.
Well,
I've
you
already-
couldn't. This was a full flight. All right, here's the bottom
Then they
line.
can go over to the
Ratatouille.
loudspeaker. Then they go, is there anyone who would like to switch seats with the
And
gentleman
go
in
sit
the
next
back?
to a really drunk girl.
Yeah.
The authorities came on the plane and had them both
They
removed.
did.
They did. And
So someone said it?
And I don't know. I think the flight attendants called, and said, because the reason the bathroom was destroyed is because she threw up all over the bathroom. And that's what got
It wasn't this.
Oh, so that's why she. That's
It
what.
wasn't
was
that.
this.
That's what got. That's
was
what
that.
got her ejected.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Because
well, that's
you
what
throw
got
up
the
and then you continue to.
But right,
Be
when
unruly. Yeah,
she
you-
threw
sorry,
up,
you gotta
and
go.
then she sat, and then when the authorities came, she ran right back in the bathroom because she kind of saw him coming. I think she threw up in that bathroom.
Oh gosh.
It was anyway, I congratulate the
It only
Southwest
took
Airlines.
25 minutes and finished that? That seems like that would have
maybe
taken...
a little longer. And of course, they announced it as, sorry, ladies and gentlemen, we've had a passenger disturbance. And I could see all the people with my team going, what is Chris doing back there?
Wow.
But
you don't know if anyone said anything because
I think the flight attendants had to
good.
call.
Yeah, because
the flight
once you're
attendants
doing
had
that,
to call.
Yeah,
you're
the
already out of
authorities don't
control.
just show up on their own.
No, it wasn't. And I'll tell you who the authorities were. Two nice ladies. I mean,
and they escorted them both off.
Yes, not uniformed in any way, but just you guys are we need to talk. And you're going to have to grab your bags, and we're coming off the plane, and we need to talk. And the boyfriend is like, you're not really doing this. And she said, yes, we are. Come on.
That's what he should have said.
And I don't think
you take her. I'll stay here.
I don't think he should have said yes. Take her, leave me. But they didn't go on the flight, so I congratulate the Southwest people for that.
They handled that right.
So good for
They
them.
did, but that is.
I've been fortunate. I haven't had any.
I haven't had too much of that either.
Right there, those sound like
She was.
They'll dry your blood
she
pressure
needed
up
to
a
be
little
off
bit.
the plane.
I did say something one time, and it was.
that. Does not surprise me. At
It
all.
was not the right thing to say. But they say, see something, say something, right?
See something, say something. Well,
to a certain extent. Let's also know that there are some flight attendants that are already a little high strung, and you can't even say "excuse me" before they're ready to get you up off of that
ask
plane.
Terrell Davis.
Ask TD.
No,
So,
I deplaned our plane by what I said.
the whole plane.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're just a.
Well, here's the thing. I was flying from Boston to San
Wait,
Diego.
what was it that
Wait,
you
what?
said?
Everybody
that got the
had to get
whole
off the plane because of you?
We were flying from Boston to San Diego. There were so many storms in the middle of the country that we couldn't get around them, so we had to go make an emergency or unscheduled landing in New Orleans,
Okay.
which means that we then sat on the plane for 3 hours on the tarmac. They got us a gate. We got off the plane. We were allowed to leave all of our stuff there. And then we came back on the plane like 2 hours later, and the guy who was sitting next to me left his bag, but he wasn't back yet. And we're
This
about
guy do you think he left something for?
we're about to
everybody?
take off. And I'm getting really nervous because the guy who was there before is not here anymore, and he left his backpack.
Wait. Are you nervous because you don't want him to be without his backpack?
No, I'm nervous because I think that he just planted something in the plane.
Oh, goodness.
I mean, if the
There
guy
he
doesn't
goes.
show up, doesn't that mean...
So finish the story.
So I go to the flight attendant, and I say, hey, the guy who was sitting here before has not come back to the plane, and he left his backpack. And they said, really? All right, we're going to... Okay. And so she goes back. All of a sudden, I hear over a loudspeaker, we have to make a stop, deplane, search the plane. It turns out the guy was sitting in the wrong seat, and they found him once they checked all of our tickets.
I want to make fun of you, but when you think about it for a little bit, that's a tough one to roll the dice on. Consider what we've had happen.
He was
to us
just
in this country.
he didn't sit in the right seat, and I didn't
Did you
see him.
when you say he did? Was it like a roll back?
It was like it was behind me for sure.
He was sitting right behind you, and you
Not right behind me, but like a few rows behind me. But they found out because they had to check all of our tickets and our IDs and everything because I said there was a bomb on the plane.
Oh, that's great.
Wow.
See something, say something.
Yeah.
That wouldn't make you guys nervous. You're taking off. This dude's backpack is sitting there and he's not there. Come on.
Chris Ello, Tony Gwynn, the boy who crawled wolf. Crawled wolf. Together
You guys would
For
have done the same thing.
the Big Five.
That's a tougher one than I want it to be. Because I want to make fun of you. But
I was also in my drinking days, and so
did that contribute to this decision making?
My paranoia was way higher.
Judgment
than it
wasn't
is today.
great.
Okay, there you
I
go.
wasn't drunk. I was just my paranoia was just outstanding at the moment.
Fair enough.
Okay, can
Let's
we
get
move
to
on?
break.
I didn't think this was gonna be this weird.
I mean, I'm just saying, it doesn't surprise me at all that you were somewhere telling a flight attendant that there's a bomb on the plane. That just doesn't surprise me at all. All right, let's
Bomb on the plane.
I didn't say bomb.
let's get to break. When we return, Big Five on the way. Been some Padre rumors I've also seen circulating on Twitter. We'll get into some of that a little later on Gwynn and Chris.
these things. It even tells you, hey, there's a canyon over here. Don't hit it here.
Scraby from about 45 feet. His caddy tells him to play it a little to the right. He's been playing well so far today. Fourth hole. Nice smooth delivery. Hit it too hard.
Sasquatch. So Chris says that he can't play golf, but this is the second birdie putt he's made for us. This time it was like 20 feet.
Thank you very much, Greg. But once again, you're hitting some very nice shots as well. I'm not usually complimentary to you, but can't help but be complimentary. Your shot making today.
With my what?
Your shot making. You hit some.
These things. It even tells you, hey, there's a canyon over here. Don't hit it here.
Scraby from about 45 feet. His caddy tells him to play it a little to the right. He's been playing well so far today. Fourth hole. Nice smooth delivery. Hit it too hard.
Sasquatch. So Chris says that he can't play golf, but this is the second birdie putt he's made for us. This time it was like 20 feet.
Thank you very much, Greg. But once again, you're hitting some very nice shots as well. I'm not usually complimentary to you, but can't help but be complimentary. Your shot making today.
With my what?
Your shot making. You hit some.
These things. It even tells you, hey, there's a canyon over here. Don't hit it here.
Scraby from about 45 feet. His caddy tells him to play it a little to the right. He's been playing well so far today. Fourth hole. Nice.
Who called Wolf? There's a bomb on the plane.
I didn't say that word.
Everybody jumps off the plane. Scraby just
I was trying to give you the benefit of the doubt.
Lost
That's why I was
track
asking
of the
you. You were
person.
just concerned that he was leaving without his bag, and maybe
Correct.
he definitely needed it. But no, you went to the full
Scraby,
extreme.
did you ever give the old yell, I don't care what anybody else thinks?
No.
Like girl sitting behind me, drunk girl?
Oh, yes.
You gave that one
yes.
many
I
times.
have a very vivid meltdown in public.
Yeah.
where I'm drinking, and my friend was telling me about how he doesn't want to be my friend anymore. I was like, I don't even care. He's like, you're making a scene. I don't care if anyone sees me.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Been there,
All
Chris.
right, very good. Shout out to my friend James Chasen, who told me before the flight last night, if you want a little extra leg room on Southwest, take the window seat.
Of course.
I had no idea this was true. You knew this.
Yes.
It's not a secret.
It's not.
Well,
a
it
secret.
was to me.
And
Apparently, you get more leg room. Just the design of the row of seats, you get a little more leg room if you're on the window than you do on the aisle. I did not know this.
However, in the aisle, you do have the ability
To put your foot out.
to put one foot out.
I hear that.
And so, I'd rather be on the aisle.
You'd go aisle.
I used to love being near the window, being able to put my head on the side there.
It's very strange for a guy who's afraid of flying.
And then that part started to manifest itself on these flights.
So now you're
Like
on
you're
the
gonna get
aisle.
sucked
All of a
out?
sudden, I feel like the whole place is closing in on
Tony,
me.
you should be on the aisle because
Yeah,
you
no.
can get out a lot faster.
Exactly. That's where my whole mind frame shifted.
Yes.
They also say you want to be in the back of the plane because the front is usually where everything happens in a crash.
What does that mean? Like,
The front is usually the first to go, and the back is sometimes
Sometimes you
survives.
survive.
So
Back,
if you want to
yeah.
sit sitting in the back,
That's
is
not a
better.
theory I really ever want to test. So,
no, not at all.
Okay.
all right, let's get to the big five because otherwise Scraby will be crying later.
It's that time of the show when we check on the latest in sports. Only the most important topics and questions are brought to light.
Stop what you're doing and listen.
These news stories will astound and amaze you. The one, the only,
Oh my God, who the hell cares?
the Big Five starts now on 97.3 The Fan.
This hour at 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by Buffalo Wild Wings. Buffalo Wild Wings is football. Head to your local Buffalo Wild Wings and try their new maple chipotle sauce for rich maple sweetness and a mild smoky chipotle heat. Or for a bit of kick, check out the new Cajun sauce for a rich blend of spicy and tangy pepper sauce. Stop by your San Diego B-Dubs or order now for takeout and delivery with Buffalo Wild Wings. Go. All right, we're going to start with
Number 5.
the major controversy that happened over the weekend in multiple different locations, and that would be flag planting. And if you didn't watch college football over the weekend, it was rivalry weekend, and so tempers were hot. And Ohio State and Michigan got into it after Michigan planted their flag in their field. It got so bad, guys, that the police had to spray pepper spray to get this thing to be broken up. But Baker Mayfield has been called the OG flag planter, and he was asked about this yesterday after the game against the Panthers, and here's what he said about flag planting.
I'll say this, that OU Texas does it every time they play. It's not anything special. You take your L and you move on. College football is meant to have rivalries. It's like the Big 12 banning the horns down signal. Just let the boys play.
Let the boys play.
All right, well,
So-
he's way off here.
Okay, well,
I must
Chris,
tell
that's my
you.
question. Should flag planting be allowed?
I'll tell you why he's way off first. Because OU Texas is played on a neutral field every year. So plant your flag. That's
not your
different.
place.
It's different than going and planting it on somebody
Has
else's
it always been in
field.
a neutral site?
Yes.
Okay.
OU Texas, they play at the Cotton Bowl, halfway in between Oklahoma and Texas. So that's why he's off here. I can understand why Ohio State would be upset. Although, in my mind, I would just take my medicine and go off the field. I lost. Go do what you got to do. But that's not the way it is in this day and age. People feel like they got to defend their turf. North Carolina State, Auburn, Alabama, Florida State. It went on and on all weekend, and it seemed like the visiting team kept winning. So they
did.
kept planting their flag.
Maybe that's why we're talking
That might
about
be
this
why.
so much.
But it got a little dangerous in that Ohio State Michigan game. That's all I'll say. I don't. Do we have to ban it? Maybe we can just discourage it without going all the way here, because I like the college enthusiasm. But I get it, man. They don't want somebody planting their flag on their field. So, Tony, I don't know.
I'm conflicted on it.
Yeah.
I do challenge the fact that there was a lot of danger in that Ohio State
Yeah,
because
listen.
these dudes just finished running into each other for 4 quarters.
A couple of people,
but
I
these
think,
guys-
got
their
injured.
they
but-
got their helmets on, they got their stuff. I'm glad there was officers there to kind of break it up. But those type of scuffles literally happen every year, and that's without flag planting sometimes. So I'm not necessarily worried about that part. But if the only way to really stop this is it's an onus on the head coaches ultimately.
Sarkisian pulled his kids away
yes, he did.
from the Texas A&M logo, which they were going to try to deface.
And that's
so give him some credit on that.
and those are the only people that can honestly stop it. If you tell your team before the game we are not doing this, it won't happen.
Yeah.
But
Fair enough.
I think the fact that a bunch of home teams lost in their building. I do find it kind of weird though that you couldn't take care of the real business and now you're just gonna we're gonna defend our logo afher we just got beat on our logo.
That's what people were saying to the Ohio State kids. Like, where was your fight during the game?
I do find a little, that'd be a little tacky.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately the onus is going to fall on the head coaches. If you don't want flag planting, I practiced that a lot during the break because I was butchering.
It is kind of a tough phrase.
Flag
I'll
very
agree.
tough
planting.
phrase.
Agreed.
If you don't want it, head coaches are going to be the ones that have to be responsible.
I know we'll get into Azeez Al-Shire and the Jaguars, but I had a major issue with now I can't remember the head coach of the Texans' name when I'm bringing it up.
Oh, DeMarco Ryan.
DeMeco Ryans. I
Yeah.
had a major issue with him. He was not doing anything to pull back his guy while the guy was going insane, running around trying to get back into the fight. Like, you're the head coach. You tell him to get off the field. Like, you're in charge. I just saw it on TV. That's why I got mad about it. Sorry.
Very good.
Number 4.
There is a kicking epidemic happening right now in the NFL, and it's getting worse. Normally, the automatic kickers are now missing at a high rate, and yesterday Justin Tucker of the Ravens continued his bad stretch. In the last 4 games, he is 4 for 8 with field goals and 6 for 8 on extra points. John Harbaugh, the head coach of the Ravens, said there are no plans to change kickers. But Tony, how many more missed kicks before you think about a change?
You're asking the Justin Tucker owner in our league that question.
So no more kicks. He should be off
Probably
the team.
wants him out right now.
I need my man to get his kicks right.
Yeah.
I'll say this. I don't think you can make a change at this point. It's not like there are a bunch of kickers out there just, waiting to be had. Where are you getting this kicker from? I just have to believe as good as Justin Tucker's been, he'll figure it out. Although it's been a rough stretch. Although the ones he missed this week were not chippies like they had been the previous week. Those were from 50, and I think 48 was the shortest he had. Everything
Extra
else,
points, though.
he did miss an
Anything
extra
under
point.
50 should be almost automatic. I hate to say in this day and age.
It really should be.
You know?
And he's part of the reason why we feel like
right.
that.
He's
right?
the one who made this standard.
But I don't know that there's a place for the Ravens to go. I think your best bet is to show confidence in him as a head coach and that he'll figure it out.
If he doesn't, there's going to be some really nervous people on that sideline sending him out there in like a wild card game
I'm
or
going to
whatever.
say from every game on, every time he goes out to take a
So,
kick,
what's he going to do?
it's going to be a nervous fit, and he's only done it to himself.
Chris, how
He's
many
a
more
victim
missed
of his own
Yeah,
success.
that's true.
This is tough because, if Otani goes 0 for 40, do you take him out of the lineup? I
Right.
mean, Tucker's the Otani of kicking, right? He's one of the greatest ever.
Oh, Eddie Pinheiro, I believe, is ahead of him now.
Okay, sorry. Eddie Pinheiro, then Tucker.
I'm not kidding.
Well,
and then Eddie Pinheiro missed like 2 field goals.
This is just
yesterday.
this is a crazy circumstance as far as I'm concerned. I would trust Justin Tucker implicitly, but I think the Ravens know. They could talk to him. What's going on? So let's find out.
All right.
Number 3.
Scandal rocked baseball all the way back in March when Shohei Ohtani's interpreter was found to have been in big trouble because of sports betting and using Shohei's money, allegedly without Shohei's knowledge. From the day it was found out to the day Ippei pleaded guilty, 76 days elapsed. Pretty quick, right? That has nothing to do with this investigation. Things were seized by authorities, and some expensive baseball cards were a part of that. Now, Shohei Ohtani wants his former interpreter to hand over hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of baseball cards he says were fraudulently bought using his money. Apparently, eBay had used Shohei's money to buy about $325,000 worth of baseball cards at online resellers eBay and whatnot, according to court documents. Chris, should Shohei Ohtani get his cards back? Get the cards back.
Yeah, I'm speaking without knowing all of the laws here, but they're his.
They were fraudulently purchased by a separate person, I guess.
So does somebody else have them now? Who has them now?
They're seized. Like, they're in evidence.
They're in evidence. Yeah, then give them back to Shohei. I was going to say possession is 9/10 of the law, but nobody's really in possession of them, so he can have them. Tony,
Shohei, give him his cards back? Give him the cards back?
It's his money that was used to buy. And maybe, he in his mind, he's like, I would have made that purchase too. So I want those back. I'm sure they're worth a lot of money too. All of it.
$325,000 is what he spent on it. So
man, that's
76 days
cards.
though. That is the quickest sentencing I've ever heard in my life.
You and your conspiracies.
Wait, what's the conspiracy behind 76
days? It's just the quickest. The guy's going to be sentenced before the year's over.
Major League Baseball has to make this all go away to get all attention off Shohei.
That conspiracy.
You know his conspiracy.
Yeah,
he's been doing this forever.
The more I think about it, the more the conspiracy strengthens.
Oh, brother.
Number 2.
It strengthens.
Our boss Adam sent us an email before the show, and I saw an audio clip that he attached, which is one of the craziest things I think I've ever heard. But Rob Manfred was on a podcast, and I want to make sure I get the podcast name right, so give me 1 second. The Varsity Podcast with John Hourand, and Rob Manfred was talking about something called.
Excuse me, if John Hourand, whoever that is, can get Rob Manfred, it's high time we get him on our show.
I don't doubt. You know what, Chris? You have a good point there. I'm going to put it in ask with Major League Baseball.
Come on,
I'm going to put it because John Hourand.
Who's
got
that?
A full sit down with Rob Manfred in person.
Yeah.
But the golden at bat rule is something that Rob Manfred talked about. Here he is.
Best things about the success we had last year, both artistically in terms of the fan reaction, but maybe equally important, the success we had in predicting for the owners what the outcome was going to be, is that it makes people in the game more comfortable talking about change. They have some confidence that you can manage the change process in a way that produces a good outcome. So I mean, there are a variety of things that are being talked about out there. One of them, there was a little buzz around at an owners meeting, was the idea of a golden at bat. That is, putting your best player out there out of order at a particular point in the game. That rule and things like that are in the conversation only stage right now.
Owners were buzzing about the golden at bat rule, which allows you to put up a player on your roster anytime you want, once a game, no matter where they are in the order. So I'm going to go to Tony on this one. Tony, how much do you want this rule involved?
This is weird.
0.
Okay, let me ask this. How much do you think this is actually being considered?
It sounds like it's being considered a lot by the owners, but they can't move by themselves.
Checks and balances.
There is. And you know what? There may be a bunch of players that let's do this. I just, I think it sounds
Here's
stupid.
the deal. The bases are loaded. Manny's on second. 2 outs in the 6th inning, and you decide this is the moment. So you pull Manny off second base, and he gets to go bat? I mean, I'm not quite sure how this works. But I would say this. I thought putting a ghost runner at second base was something I would never see, ever, not even a discussion.
Facts.
Now I don't care about it. So this rule seems more outlandish than that. But maybe I would like it once they put it into play. I'm not positive.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm really not positive.
Pretty much every one of the rules that is put out there, with the exception of Ghost Runner. I didn't have as much of a problem with that, with the extra innings. Or maybe I did. I can't remember at this point. It's all blending. But I didn't like most of the rules when they first started. And there aren't very many that I don't like. I think the mound visits rule is stupid. It doesn't make any difference.
I think it does.
I don't think it does.
It doesn't.
How often do they get to 1?
I don't know.
That's not very often. I do. They don't go.
But do you think that they have pulled it back a little bit because they know that they
That
have
might
a
be.
limit?
That might be a
The
case.
only reason I'll say this, Tony, I mean, the catcher used to go out there a lot of times in the ninth inning before every batter. And that's what I think they were aiming to stop. And they've definitely stopped that from happening.
Yeah, I feel like this is just one of those things you find in NFL Blitz or something. Like, hey, you get to you
kind of
purchase the.
It's a reason to buy the game.
Yeah,
Because you
it's
get to do
very
something
strange.
crazy.
We could get to number one a little bit later, or we may save it for tomorrow. But when we get back, the Daily Gambit on 97.3 The Fan.
Indeed, we are. 3 o'clock. Tony Gwynn Jr., Chris Ello, Matt Scraby. Little daily gambit headed your way. Also, Mark Zegler will join us in the next segment. Talk a little bit about our Aztecs, who coming off a terrific week of basketball. Made the Blake Snell signing kind of fade for the weekend, at least. We got to enjoy some good Aztec basketball, some great NFL games over the weekend, including the 49ers getting spanked in the snow. Yes, they did.
Yeah, I want to just thank the 49ers for at least making realize that although the Dolphins are the worst team in the history of football playing in cold weather.
Sucks. It looks like it sucks.
They are so bad in cold weather. It's a joke. But at least the 49ers joined them for one night. Because the 49ers looked very similar to the Dolphins.
I was going to say, like, the 49ers have always been known as the team that can go anywhere. Their game translates anywhere.
Not last night.
No,
what is Kyle Shanahan doing at the goal line, doing a little loop-de-loop, twisty-do, trying to hand it off to Kyle Juszczyk? You're in the snow. You need Brock Purdy to turn around to hand off a fake? Like, you're in the snow. What are you doing? Just hand the ball off up the middle.
This is...
Jordan Mason was running for 10 yards at a time. And then you do a twiddly-do, handoff, and he gets the ball punched out at the 1 yard line?
A twiddly-do.
Do you guys know what I'm talking about when he fumbled at the goal line?
Yes, but I just want to let you keep going.
Just go ahead, man.
You're too funny.
Get that off your chest.
I think Kyle Shanahan is... I think I don't want him fired, but I think he's trying way too hard to make up for things.
This guy's
that's
like
going
been
wrong.
as successful as any
No,
coach
I don't want him to. I don't want him to get fired. I think that he definitely should be the team's head coach. But this year, he's made some questionable things happen.
Questionable things.
It doesn't help that Christian McCaffrey keeps getting hurt.
And he's now out for the rest of the season.
This is what happens.
6 weeks, not the rest of the season.
6 weeks.
Running
6 weeks
him into
the rest of the season.
Playoffs are still on the table, Chris.
You start running him into the ground. I mean, this is. I hate to say it, but this is what we saw in Carolina, right? He had like the first 3 years, his workload was through the roof.
Who are we talking?
Christian McCaffrey.
Yes.
Then he had like 2 years where he was hurt. Then he got healthy, and as soon as he got healthy, they shipped him to San Francisco. He's been healthy for the most part for the last, 2 years?
Yeah.
And then, boom, that workload of being a multi-purpose back it does seem like, now this one's a PCL, this is just kind of a freak.
It's because he fell on the field, and I'm not saying he shouldn't have gotten hurt. It's just like the bad luck for this guy.
Yeah, no, he's having bad luck on that, but the Achilles, I think that's both Achilles. I think that's more wear and tear than it is anything else.
He's 28 years old, which is an eternity for you. You're very old as a running back.
You got about 2 more, according to the NFL standards, you got about 2 more good years left.
Which he may spend standing on the sidelines doing commercials with.
I do that commercial. I do love those though. Jerry's eating rice. I can watch that commercial 100 times.
It is pretty good, I must say.
Okay, you guys are John Lynch.
We're not, and
we don't care. Are you continuing?
We don't care
on the pay Brock Purdy train. I'm not saying anything, but $60 million a year for Brock Purdy.
We don't care.
Take this to San Francisco. I'm so concerned about who the Padres are signing.
You brought up the 49ers. You got
did.
this going.
Tony did.
I did. I certainly did because they lost, so it was fun to pick at it. But he's having a therapy moment right now, which is not what it was meant for.
Cyrus says, twiddly-do, correct football terminology. Don't even, when we get to the Chiefs, you guys just might have to leave the room.
All right, we do have a daily gambit to get to. I know it sounds like we're just kind of lollygagging here. Let's get to work with some daily gambit.
Do you like money?
I think about money a lot.
Do you like money without doing anything?
Winning.
Do you want to make money while watching sports?
I think Washington is immortal luck.
Washington! Woohoo! If you answered yes, this is your segment. Just don't blame us when you lose.
Well, nothing is ever your fault.
It's your game. Take it.
Gwynn and Chris go through the top bets of the day in The Daily Gambit on 97.3 The Fan.
As soon as we start talking about it, I'm at my most angry. The highlights from the game show up on TV.
And the Buffalo Bills twiddly-do play where Josh Allen throws to the receiver who laterals back to him.
I lost last night because of one of Josh Allen's touchdown. You mean the
he
passing,
gets a passing
and receiving?
and a receiving touchdown on the same play. Never seen that one
He
before.
was being interviewed after the game, and he said, he's like, I did? That's pretty cool. He's all about it, too.
Well, he had no idea. Yeah.
Anyway, Daily Gambit. Let's start with what the bets that we made last week. First one was Duke and Kansas all the way back on Tuesday. Duke were 3-point favorites in the game. Chris and I chose Duke. Kansas ended up winning 75-72.
All right.
Phoenix minus 2.5 over the Lakers on Friday. I was thinking the Lakers were going to clean up shop because it was a cup game. They've never lost a cup game.
They're out of the cup.
Chris chose the Suns, and Chris would be the only one
Are they
correct here.
officially out? I know it was really hard for them to get
somebody said they were out, but then I read the standings and they don't have an X next to them.
I
So
don't think
maybe
they're
there's
official.
a little hope for them.
Tiny bit of hope.
Yes.
Suns win 127-100. Who had more points in their game? Kevin Durant or Zach LaVine? I almost said Adam Levine. I think that's the guy from Maroon 5.
Yes, it is.
I bet you Durant beat Adam Levine.
Yes, I think he did.
Did he beat
Tony
Zach
and I
LaVine?
picked Kevin Durant. You picked Zach LaVine. Durant had 23. LaVine had 18. Now, we still haven't even talked about the Lions. We'll get to it. But the Bears, I should say. We'll get to the Bears. Minus 10 on the spread for Thanksgiving morning. It started out not looking good for the Bears, but they made a comeback. Tony and I chose the Bears. Chris chose the Lions. Lions ended up winning 23-20.
Cover!
Could have
Bears-
even lost the game
Bears
if
win.
Matt Eberflus wasn't on his phone.
We're
while the end of the game
We're
was
saving a
happening.
special spot for him in the show.
Mr.
today.
Eberflus.
Yes.
Who had most passing yards on Thanksgiving Day? Jared Goff or Jordan Love? We all said Goff. We were all incorrect. Goff had 221. Jordan Love had 274. Finally, Ohio State, 20.5 point favorite in the game against Michigan. And Michigan, to Chris and Tony chose, Michigan ended up winning this game 13-10, which caused the flag planting incident, which caused the police to pepper spray everybody.
Which caused Ohio State fans to think that Ryan Day should be fired right on the spot. Despite he's got one of the best records in all of college football, he's now 0-4 against Michigan. Ohio State people don't care.
They do not care.
You're 0-4 against Michigan? Get out.
Bruce fan, if you're on the chat, please tell me your thoughts on Ryan Day.
The
Brutus
only
will know.
thing that may save him, or I shouldn't say may save him, that
No, he's not gonna get
that
fired,
will take him out of the
conversation.
Yeah. Is winning a national championship. It's the only thing.
That's
Because
it.
these folks,
They are not happy.
they're not happy at all.
Woody Hayes once walked his car across the Ohio border. He was out of gas in Michigan, but he refused to buy gas in that state.
I still wish we had that sort of pettiness. I really do.
Woody Hayes pushing his car across the state line to get gas.
That's when you knew it was
They
coming
care.
from the left side. Like, I am not buying gas here. I will push this car.
They care.
I respect it.
I do.
Damn right.
All right.
All right, here we go for tonight. Denver home to Cleveland, the Monday Nighter, 6.5 points. The Broncos are favored over the Browns. I'll take the Browns, basically because Miami's slim playoff hopes count on Denver losing. So I
In
gotta root for the
Jameis,
Browns.
I trust, baby.
Tony also going with Cleveland.
Going
huh?
with Cleveland.
Okay.
I can't stand the Denver's
yeah,
head coach.
You don't like him.
And I would love...
Sorry, everybody. I got my Sean Payton face on.
And I would like to see a good game tonight.
All right. Scrape, what do you think?
Thanks for that, Tony.
Yeah, I'd like to see a good game.
I'm going to go Broncos.
That's why I'm rooting
You
for the
got
Browns.
All right. Who's going to throw more? You just said Jameis you trust. Who's getting more passing yards, Jameis or Bo Nix? Little shout out to Bo Nix, who's got no credit or attention at all, while all of the other rookie quarterbacks get talked about endlessly.
It's because he's
This
old
guy
enough
just
to be
go-
like their dad.
Well,
It's like 26 playing.
all
out
right.
there.
He's doing all right
It's
for
like
a rookie.
It's like Chris Winkie coming in and like doing well.
Chris Winkie.
Who you going with, Tony Jameis? Passing yardage
Give me,
tonight.
give me Bo.
Bo
Really?
Nix
Wow,
after all
okay.
that. Okay.
Yeah, I just they're gonna have to run the ball in order to have some success.
All right, Scrape.
I'll go Jameis just because he can throw for 400 yards. That's as much as he can throw
Yeah,
for...
no, give me Jameis. I'm just
Oh,
going
there
back.
we
Yeah.
go.
Change. It's a good thing I do this in pen. I'll take Jameis, too, because he could throw 400 yards and 9 interceptions. Rushing, receiving yards, rushing plus receiving, Nick Chubb or Jerry Jeudy. Scraby, they're both on the Browns, of course.
Wait, rushing plus?
Plus receiving. Obviously, for Chubb, it's rushing and receiving. For Jeudy, it's receiving, plus if he doesn't end around or something.
I'm going to go...
Who gets more tonight?
Jerry Judy's been pretty good as of late.
Playing well.
Been all right.
I feel like...
And he's playing his former team tonight. He could be
you just sold me,
up.
Judy. Is Steve Smith there?
I don't know.
Couldn't call him a jag. What is it? Just another guy?
Just another guy. He's only proved him right for most of the time.
When they were on Monday Night Football.
I remember.
The whole thing.
I'll take Chubb. Tony? Chubb's been cranking it up a little bit the last few games.
Give me Judy.
Judy, you say. Okay. Basketball. College basketball. Nevada Wolfpack from the Mountain West Conference hosting Washington State. Nevada's favored by 11.5. Chris, you should do a little bit of research before you decide here. I don't know. You know what? I don't need any research. I still don't like Steve Alford. I'll take Washington State.
Figured that was happening.
Yes. Tony?
I think we got to root for Nevada. No, they in our
I know it's
conference.
better for the Aztecs if Nevada and all those teams win their games like this. Yeah. No, you're right.
I'm going to go with Nevada then.
Go with Nevada, minus 11.5. Nevada, by the way, is 6-1, so they're off to a good start.
Oh, Wolfpack.
Nevada. Oh, God. All right, we got the Wolves. Speaking of that, the Timberwolves hosting the Lake Show. Lake Show's a little slump, Tone. Drop, 3 out of 4?
Yeah, won last night.
No, they won last night.
They won last night
All right,
by 1.
so-
Thanks to the Utah Jazz coach.
They only beat the Jazz by 1?
By 1.
Yeah.
And it was only because their head coach called a timeout right before my man hit the layup to take the lead. Called a timeout. And they didn't even get a shot off after
Took
that.
the layup off the board?
Off the board.
Nice
Yes.
job. You are actually first, Tony,
I will take
so
the
you'll
Lakers.
take the Lakers,
You know it.
plus 7.5.
Man, by the way, I just saw McCaffrey's injury. That's freak luck, right? Bad
right?
luck,
He
yeah.
literally just
He
fell.
was on his way to the house and then
I guess
got
what
tripped
happens
up.
is the PCL's behind the ACL, and sometimes the PCL is injured when you have a blunt force to it.
Scraby,
Listen,
make a
you've
pick,
been doing a
will
lot
ya?
of research, huh?
I was listening to my San Francisco
Scraby,
stuff.
you're holding up the line. There's people want to get their bet down.
What did you guys bet?
Minnesota minus 7.5 or Lakers?
What did you bet?
I didn't go yet. It's your
I'm going to
turn.
go Lakers.
Lakers.
I can't believe I'm doing that then.
Really? All right, I'll take the. I think the Lakers are slumping, but the Wolves. I can say this about the Wolves.
Wolves are slumping too.
Yeah, they are. Is this fair to say that the Julius Randle for Cat trade, Knicks win by a wide margin because Julius Randle is just like disturbing the whole makeup of the T-Wolves?
On December 2nd, it's okay to say that. I think that's fair.
All right. Who scores more points tonight, Ant-Man or AD? Scraby.
Every time I go with Ant-Man, he does not have a good night, so I'm going to jinx AD.
AD for you. I'll take. I can't root for AD, so I got to go Ant-Man.
It is indeed AD that will have the most
AD.
points.
And finally, we get back to the NHL. Check in on the Utah Hockey Club.
Oh, great.
They're home tonight with a 10-10-4 record. Dallas is the opponent. Dallas is favored by 1.5. Dallas is way better than the Utah Hockey Club, but
I'll take Dallas.
I'll take the Hockey Club to keep it close. Dallas and then Scraby.
Dallas.
By the way, remember when Winnipeg was like 15-0?
They've been losing?
18-7 now. They've dropped 7 out of 10. So they've come back to the pack. All right. There's our daily gambit.
Let's get to break on the other side. Mark Zegler joins us to talk a little Aztec basketball. More Gwynn and Chris. Here's some traffic.
From the 97.3 The
Hi, Chris Ello, Tony Gwynn Jr., Matt Scraby. You guys know I was in Mexico last week, and I was in a bit of a depression Saturday afternoon because the Aztec women's team came within a missed layup at the buzzer of going 9-0, and I felt bad for the kids. They played a great game, just came up a layup short. Still pretty good season at 8-1. But, man, a couple of hours later, I was sky high because the Aztec men did it again. Mark Zegler joins us after San Diego State beats Houston, among others, Creighton in that Las Vegas tournament. Mark, thanks so much for the time. How are you?
I'm doing great. It was a busy week going back and forth to Vegas a couple times, but glad I'm home.
Yes, Brian Dutcher, you said it in one of your stories. The Aztecs just own Las Vegas. They've been doing this for years. They shouldn't let them play there. Are they in this tournament again next year if it happens?
Yes, they are. They signed a 3-year contract with them, and so assuming the checks clear and all is good, they will stay in it because – I mean, $1 million hard, or they made $1 million plus an extra $150,000 for winning third place.
Yeah,
they'll take that. I mean, given the state of their NIL, which is pretty good for a mid-major program or in a mid-major league. But I'm hearing that Oregon, the team they lost to, has NIL of $4 million for their team, and so any dollar they can get really, really helps. And so yeah, they're going to play in this tournament. And not just for the money, because it's really good teams, which are hard to schedule for a program like San Diego State because nobody really wants to play them. And it's in Vegas, so their fans can come. If they have 2 days off like they did here, they come back in between, which was, I think, a big help for them. And it's in the time zone, and they know the city. They're just comfortable there. It's a weird place, as anyone who's been there knows. And they're just really comfortable there, and it shows on the floor.
Mark, there's already been conversation of this tournament expanding. I would imagine the pot gets a little bit bigger if you have more teams involved. I mean, that was some of the discussion after this tournament ended a little bit.
Yeah, they're talking 18 teams next year for sure. They've got commitments from Gonzaga, Iowa State, Syracuse, Michigan, and Baylor. St. John, St. Joe's, and there's one other team in there that they've announced so far. But they say they're going to go to 18, so it's going to be 10 new teams plus the 8 that were there this year. And the way they're going to do it is they're going to have 6 3-team pods, and you play the other 2 teams in your pod. So you'll have one off day in there across the first 3 days of the tournament. And then on the 4th day, they'll have a championship game and some crossover games, and it's going to be there'll be a whole bunch of tiebreakers, similar to what they did this year. So it won't be a straight bracket format, and they're going to use 3 arenas. They're going to have T-Mobile, they're going to have MGM Grand Garden, and the Michelob Ultralight, the Mandalay Bay Arena as well, all MGM properties. But they're going to have games going on at all 3 all at the same time. They hope to have them all in prime time. I mean, it's going to be a heck of a deal. And if the money keeps flowing, their whole plan is to own and control November basketball in college basketball, and they're kind of on their way. I mean, the rest of these tournaments around the country are looking at this going, uh-oh.
Yeah, I bet.
I mean, who wouldn't want $1 million to come play?
Yeah, so the Aztecs get in on the ground floor. Mark Zegler's with us. All right, how did they do it Saturday, Mark? I mean, come on, they're down 11. It's a team that has experience. They're scoring. Everybody's back. The Aztecs are, have their Miles Bird and a bunch of guys nobody knew before the season. Come on, they're not supposed to ever win that one.
They're not. I mean, and Houston, too. I mean, really, year in, year out, one of the best 2 or 3 defensive teams in the country. Just plays so hard. It's hard to get runs against them. And I think, one of the things that turned it was, Nick Boyd hadn't scored, and B.J. Davis hadn't scored. That's 28 points between them. And they hadn't scored, and there's 9 minutes left of the game. There's a long rebound that's tipped out, and Nick Boyd swoops in, takes it coast to coast, lays it in. And that's just, it's weird as a player. I know, being a player myself, I mean, sometimes you just get in these ruts and just got to see the ball go in the basket once, even if it's a layup. And that got him untracked. And then he hit a couple threes, and then B.J. Davis hit a 3. And that really got them back in the game. And then from there, it was just a scrap. I thought it was really impressive in overtime, the defense that they played. Just really shut them down, forced them in some bad shots late in the shot clock. and they scored just enough points to hang on. And man, that was one of their biggest, regular season wins, at least in program history.
Mark, you mentioned it a little bit, but the thing that stood out to me in the first, 15 minutes of that game, and it wasn't necessarily that the Aztecs were playing the type of defense we've become accustomed to, but the physicality part. Houston is one of the more physical teams in the country, but at least from my standpoint, from the opening tip, it just seemed like the Aztecs were on par, if not more physical than Houston was. They fouled a little bit more in the first half. My man from Houston caught fire with the 3 in the first half, but I thought from the physical standpoint, as inexperienced as this team may be together, they looked like they were up for the test in that game.
Yeah, that's really, really good observation, because that's something the players talked about, the coaches talked about. I think, some of the players, it's kind of like, look, they're going to hack you, and they're going to foul you on every single possession, every single time you come down the floor, and the refs can't call them all, and you can't complain, because if you complain, they have you. And what you have to do is you got to, it's the old adage about, don't be the guy who punches back. Be the guy who punches first.
Right.
And they kind of took that to heart. And, they are a very physical team, but they're just not as thick and big. There are not as many grown men on the team as there have been in the past. And so for a younger team to do that, that was a huge step up, a big step. I mean, you saw Farrell Compton, a true freshman, like growing before our eyes.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy was out there just banging with dudes, and he had this smile on his face like, I can get away with this? Okay. And then he was doing it again, and then he was reaching, and he was flapping at guys, and sometimes they called it, but sometimes they didn't. He got a steal. He kind of smirked, and, and that just got contagious to the whole team. And I think, for a team like Houston that is used to punking people, when they play a team that matches their physicality, it's like the bully. When you bully a bully, they don't know what to do. And I think there was a little bit of that going on. I think they were a little bit shocked by how physical and how much the Aztecs just gave it right back to them.
You mentioned his name because, obviously Miles Byrd stood out, but Farrell Compton, that was my first time getting to sit down and watch a full game from start to finish. He was a very impressive young man, a good touch around the basket. The physicality part obviously stood out, and it just seemed like he wanted whatever Houston was bringing in that ball game. He was probably the guy who I was most impressed with after watching that ball game.
Yeah, he, when he was recruited, you can tell the coaches are always excited about every recruit they get. But this was a guy, they were like, this is one of the best recruits we've gotten in school history. We really think so. He is really special. He brings a skill set and a motor.
Motor.
A lot of guys are skilled, but not always they can match that with the motor. And he brings the motor and the work rate and the length that they love. Because when you get a guy, you can get a 7-footer, right? But if they're not that mobile, they're still a 7-footer. It's kind of slow. When you get a 6'8" guy or a 6'9" guy that's got a 7'4" wingspan like he does, now you got a guy in a smaller package that's mobile, but has every bit of as much length as a 7-footer, and he plays like a 7-footer, and so he's quicker and he's more explosive, and those arms just reach, and so they were expecting big things from him. The issue was he didn't play at a super high level or sophisticated level in high school, and so there was going to be a learning curve with offenses and defensive schemes and plays, and whereas Taj DeGorville, the other freshman from Las Vegas, he played at Wasatch Academy, one of the highest level prep academies in the country. So he was much more ready for college ball, and he was much more consistent early on. But Farrell you just see him every game get a little bit better. And I look back to July and the first few practices, he was completely lost. And to see what he did in that game, you can see why the coaches are so excited. They're just like, okay, now he takes another 2 or 3 steps. Now he's a problem, and particularly in a league that doesn't have a lot of bigs. I mean, I think by January or February, he is going to be a problem for teams.
Mark, real quick, I know we got to get rolling, but I was more than willing and happy and able to give Dutch and this staff, some time. Brand new team, I expect you to start playing well. You even told me they're going to play better in January and February. Now that they get this win, all bets are off. Sorry. I want to be fair. I want to be fair to them, but now my expectations are through the roof. I'm sure all the fans are.
Yeah, and this is going to be interesting because, as you guys know, in sports, it's a lot easier to play as the hunter than the hunted.
Yeah.
And they were underdogs for 4 straight games. They could just come out and let it rip. No one expected them to win. They got down 11. Hey, so what? Let's just, I mean, you saw some of the shots that Coleman Jones was taking and Miles Byrd was taking. I mean, those are just free-flowing, let's just see what happens type shots. Well, now the whole script flips because in the next 4 games, 5 games, maybe even 6 games as I look at the schedule, they're going to be favored.
Yeah.
And in some of them, they're going to be double-digit favorites. I mean, they're going to go to Fresno on Wednesday for the conference opener, and I think they're going to be a 15-point favorite. They're going to play USD. They're going to be 20-something point favorite. And so it changes a little bit. The mentality changes. People are coming after you, and just beating teams isn't good enough anymore. You got to beat them by a lot. It's a different kind of pressure. And again, this is a young team. So let's see how they handle this pressure. They showed they could handle, we're underdogs. We're not going to back down from anybody. They passed that test, but this is a different test. So we'll see what happens going forward in the next few weeks. I mean, these are all should be very winnable games, but we'll see how they play. They played very well. Even in the Oregon game, they didn't win. They played very well. Let's see how they play now.
Mark, we appreciate it. You always play great on our show, and we couldn't be happier that you joined us. Enjoy the rest of your holidays, and we'll catch up to you soon.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay. Yeah, talk to you guys.
All right, good. Mark Zegler there. Thanks, Mark. And quick break here, and then Week 13 in the National Football League. The good, the bad, the ugly. 49ers fall in there somewhere. We'll let you know when we
It
come
should be
back.
the good, the bad, the Niners.
That's what it was last week. But they didn't quite lose 38-10 this time. It was a little closer.
They didn't?
It was closer.
35-10?
It was closer. You're improving, Scrape.
Ben and Woods.
Marcelo, Tony Gwynn Jr., Mr. Scrape. Until then, listen to Inside San Diego Baseball with Sam Levitt, Wednesdays from 7 to 9 p.m. right here on 97.3 The Fan or on our YouTube page. Sam is going to talk all things Padres baseball, keep you up to date on the latest hot stove rumors, like the one I read that had Vladimir Guerrero Jr. coming here for a package headlined by Luis Campusano. Where do I sign up for this?
Vladimir, where did you read this?
I saw it circling on the internet.
I saw
Twitter.
it twittering a few times.
That's where I saw it.
With people, with somebody that is recognized as a very good breaker of these kinds of stories.
You're going to have to tell me in the break, because I did not see this.
Well, you missed it. I think Cronenworth's name was in there, too.
Oh.
But his name was in the one I saw,
Yeah. But would you do, let's just forget everybody else.
It was like 5 or 6 players.
Yeah, would you do Cronenworth and, throw in Campy for Vlad Jr.?
Yes.
Yes, you would, but you'd have to put Bogey at second and find a shortstop. Right?
Oh, I see who this came from.
Or put a Rise at second and keep Xander at shortstop.
It definitely leaves you with some holes.
Yeah,
for sure.
But it's a big bat.
It's a big bat.
All right, let's check traffic, then wrap up Week 13 of the NFL.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Got a few things that might slow you down a bit. Southbound 15 before Ocean View, our Cordell and Cordell traffic cam shows a collision involving a couple cars. They're over the right shoulder, but emergency crew's got that right lane blocked. South 15 before Ocean View. Also, southbound 805 before Plaza Boulevard, a stalled car in the fast lane. Collision in the East County, eastbound side of the 8 near Greenfield. Several vehicles in the center divide. I'm Kelly Danick with Gwynn Chris, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
All right, unlucky Week 13. That was actually pretty lucky for some teams. Chiefs. We'll get into that.
Sorry, that was loud.
That was very loud.
Start with the good.
It came from a real place.
Start with the good. Tony's going to love where we start this week. Russell Wilson. Man, he just keeps piling it up. I mean, look, I could see the Steelers beating the Bengals 14-8. I could not see the Steelers beating the Bengals 44-38.
He was slanging it like old Russell Wilson.
Quick snap and a throw out to Pickens at the 20-yard line. Makes the grab, heads up the sideline, eludes a tackler, and waltzes it for the score and boots the ball up into the crowd.
Yeah, you're funny, George.
Did you see
George
what-
Pickens there? Steelers over the Bengals. Let's ride. 414 yards, 4 touchdowns.
Do you see what Mike Tomlin said about George Pickens after the game?
He's got to grow up.
Yeah, he said he's got to grow up and grow up fast.
I'm honestly surprised that Mike gave him this long.
Yeah, right.
It's
Before
week 13.
Pronouncing it. Yeah.
He was asked a couple weeks ago about.
And he was so annoyed when he was asked about it. He was like, he's going to have to grow up quickly.
Yeah, that was a message to George.
I don't know. You can put all the contenders in there, but Mike Tomlin's decision to sit down a fairly effective Justin Fields for now a quarterback that has come out of nowhere to give you a chance to maybe go to the Super Bowl might be the coaching move of the season.
It seems like a coach that has a true finger on the pulse of his team. Like he knew they were winning games, but he knew there was more in there, and he's starting to get it now.
He's getting it. All right, Buffalo over the 49ers, also good for the Bills, that is. Josh Allen, first quarterback ever to throw, run, catch a touchdown in the same game, and a couple of those things he did on the same play.
Quick hitter, thrown behind, but somehow caught. And now lateral to Allen and reaching for the pylon. Are you kidding me? It's a touchdown. Unbelievable.
It really was pretty unbelievable. Even first the catch by Amari Cooper just to make the catch. But how many quarterbacks come running around for the pitch?
None.
And then get it and then run and dive for the pile? Josh Allen.
You know what was funny? It was a bad pass to begin with.
Terrible.
It was a great catch, but it put him in a spot where he couldn't do nothing at that point.
Except lateral to Josh Allen.
And so the wherewithal
Unreal.
of Josh Allen to just be in the, you know what that's equivalent of? It's like Jeter being in that cutoff spot.
Yeah, maybe.
You know what I'm saying? Like he's just in the right spot, flip from Coop, and then what does he have? A pass catch touchdown?
You got a passing touchdown. It was a 10-point play if you had him in fantasy, which is a lot.
I was playing against him and Brock Bowers in 3 of my leagues, so that was great.
The other thing about Josh Allen, you watch the game, he doesn't look like he's playing in the snow, while everyone else does.
It doesn't. By
He's
the way,
doing the exact
all
whatever he wants to do, and everyone else is on skates.
All I can think of is how aren't his fingers, like how does he feel his fingers?
I don't get it. I hate to
he
say
did
it
hurt his
because
hand
we
last
love
night.
Fred
And I
Warner.
guess he did
but
play in Wyoming too, so I guess this is.
But Fred Warner tackles every quarterback he's ever faced in that situation, but not last night.
Fred
Josh
Warner
Allen
is
runs
also
away from him.
playing on a broken ankle.
Yeah, well.
Hang with him.
All right, I won't get into the Niners.
I've
I guess
already
I
said
will.
my piece.
The Niners have plummeted. I love that word. To the cellar of the NFC West.
Yeah, okay.
All by themselves.
Cellar.
You are.
I know.
You're not even tied with anybody.
No.
I know.
Also good, Minnesota. The Vikings are still
Minnesota.
10-2. You know, we don't talk much about it. They rallied to beat Arizona 23-22. And my guy, Kevin O'Connell, finally found a way to get the ball back to Justin Jefferson. Thank you, Kevin. Here's the winner for Minnesota.
Darnold out of the shotgun. 2nd and 2 from the Cardinals 5. Takes the snap. 4-man rush. Sam to the right. Caught. And touchdown! He's showtime!
I'm not gonna lie. Was it you last week that was on Kevin, or was that you?
No, I
Kevin?
was on him.
It
I was on him for not getting the ball to JJ.
Oh, that's right. That's what it was
Yeah.
about. I don't know why in my mind that made the Vikings a bad team that didn't have just 2 losses. In
I
my
know.
mind, I thought they were way worse.
10-2.
10-2.
Having a season.
Go ahead, Kevin.
All right, in the bad category, the Baltimore Ravens. I had to put them there. I mean, this is a team that everybody says is going to the Super Bowl, and they always look like it when they win. But they're also now 8-5, which isn't Super Bowl sounding. Justin Tucker, we talked about it earlier, 2 missed field goals. Meanwhile, for Philadelphia, Saquon Barkley keeping his name right in the middle of the MVP race.
Hurts, this time to Barkley, off the right side, breaks a tackle. He's at the 15, the 10, the 5, touchdown! Saquon Barkley! He's broken, 25 yards.
I think he's the MVP.
You know what?
I don't know. Josh Allen made a case for me last night.
But Saquon, like,
He
can
looks like
change a game
he looks
in a
like a
heartbeat
creative player
without
right
being
now.
a quarterback.
Like he looks like he's playing on like
All
varsity,
Madden, yeah.
and everybody else is playing on all Madden.
I saw a stat
Or the
where
other way
he's
around.
the leading rusher in the league.
No, he's playing on varsity, so it's easy for him.
Oh, gosh.
Everybody else is playing on
okay.
All American.
Sorry about
there
that,
you go.
Chris.
Oh, no problem. No, Saquon's the leading rusher. And also, his yardage in the second half alone would rank him 4th in football.
How about this guy?
He's getting it all after halftime.
This guy has like over 1,100 yards before he's touched.
Yeah, that helps.
And it's like a 500-yard difference between him and Derrick Henry. And Derrick Henry always looked like he's untouched when he gets to the first guy. He's having a terrific year.
Cooper
sure.
DeJean.
I want to say this about the MVP. And I think over the years, Chris, we have just become so bogged down with these conversations that, I don't know, it's supposed to change every other week during the course of the year in terms of who's winning.
And that's what's happening.
Because it's not the full season yet.
Yeah.
So we can, it's not, shouldn't be a surprise that it is not Lamar Jackson anymore, and it is now someone, whether it's Josh Allen or Barkley, but that's how it's supposed to go during the course. It's boring if we know who's going to win in week 11.
Yeah.
Kind of the way it was in baseball, I hate to say this year. All right, in the bad category, and expected, the Dolphins. They can't play in bad weather. All right, let's move on.
4th down, Dolphins.
I searched long and hard for this highlight.
Go ahead.
4th down, Dolphins.
Come on, stop him.
At the 1-yard line of Green Bay. Tua in the pistol. Achane right behind him. Motion by Ingbo to the right. Taking the handoff. Tua looks to throw. He steps up. He's hit and sacked. He is sacked. Back outside the 5. Quay Walker. And they deny the Dolphins.
Yeah, that's what you get when you're a wimpy team and you can't run it in from inside the 1 on 3rd down or 4th down.
I don't know what the last name was, but I felt I felt like my man backed it in after he got halfway.
Should I go back to that real quick? Let me see. Hold on.
I feel like
Taking the handoff. Tua looks to.
Wait, hold on.
Motion by Ingbo to the right.
He had no idea who that was.
He just backed it in.
I'll tell you, watching them play cold weather games, it's honestly, it's 3 hours of torture.
It looks
for
like
me.
it hurts. Yeah. It looks like they look like I feel watching them.
They missed 20 tackles for like 200 yards worth of extra yardage. I mean, come on.
Man, Chris, one thing that's great for our teams is that we're both terrible because the 49ers missed 20 tackles against the Packers, too.
Man. All right, also bad. Chargers beat Atlanta 17-13, causing me to wonder how that Kirk Cousins deal is working out about now.
Do you remember when our boss came into our room and was
I
like,
remember.
I'm sure you want to say something when it was going good. I was like, nah, I'm awake.
Yeah.
Well, now the time has come.
Sorry, Adam.
Falcons have returned to do Falcon-type stuff.
And the Chargers got a pick 6 to beat them.
Cousins has it. Looking right sideline. It is picked off. All day to run down the sideline. Tarheeb Still, his 2nd interception of the day. There are no flags, and this is a pick 6 touchdown.
Chargers get the win. Kirk with 4 picks, no touchdowns.
How about the Chargers not charging right now?
No, they're
Just
the
wait
ones
for
that win the game. They're the ones that win. They're 8-4.
It's like Twilight Zone right now.
8-4.
Just wait for it.
Some people are waiting for Michael Penix to take Kirk Cousins' spot. Falcons are tied for the lead in their division now with Tampa Bay. All right, ugly. We got barely enough time. Detroit, the Bears.
Oh, God.
Here's the highlight, and then we'll get to the low light at the end.
Goff up under center, single back Gibbs. Fake to him. Goff back looking, throwing middle end zone. It is caught. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Sam Laporta. Goff with the delivery, 87 with the catch, and the Lions cash it in.
Just because your team's good doesn't mean you can step over highlights.
All right, stop it. The Lions did go to sleep in the second half. The Bears got close, and then they bungled the finish. Probably as bad as anybody's ever done it. You could see that they had to fire Matt Eberflus, and they did the day after. But they made him do a press conference the next morning or a
Zoom
Zoom
I read
call.
about this morning.
Pathetic.
They weren't sure after the game whether or not they're going to fire him.
They
but they
weren't.
had to send someone out there because it's NFL policy.
Yeah.
So they
should
made
have
him
been
go
sure.
out there and then they fired him.
They should have been
The
sure.
rumor came out that the really good talented DB for
Stevenson. Oh yeah.
For the Bears.
Yeah.
Went off after the game.
He also tripped Jameson
right
Williams.
after the speech from the coach. He said Eberflus had to remove himself quickly because I think it's
The players
Johnson.
wanted to go get him.
I think it was Johnson. The quarterback was furious about that loss.
A lot of people said this, and I agree. him saying that they did what they wanted to do was worse than what they did.
That might have been the thing that got him fired at the end of the day.
I mean, to go up there and say, this is what we wanted?
I would tell everybody to go back and watch just the sideline as the clock is running down. I don't know how he didn't call timeout. All of those guys on the sideline, as soon as he snapped it, almost fell out like your boy Dan Hurley did during the call. So clearly they thought he should call timeout, but there wasn't one given or taken.
Yeah, I was reading a lot about this, and I guess after the Jaden Daniels Hail Mary with the Commanders, the players were really upset about the play call before the Hail Mary because he called too soft a coverage and it allowed them to gain enough yards to get Jaden Daniels into territory to throw a Hail Mary. But I guess he wouldn't take responsibility for that. He was like, no, that wasn't the big play. The big play was the touchdown. So players started to go out on him.
Yeah, they start to second guess you.
Second guess you. And then he didn't, again, take any accountability for the fact that he blew the game.
No, he did right
And
thing.
Caleb Williams, I'm not a Caleb Williams guy, but people blaming him for that, they don't know what they're talking about. It's not his job to look up at the clock and call timeout. He's a rookie quarterback trying to get them into field goal range. That is 100% on the head coach.
He also changed the play to go with a deep pass because he realized they were out of time.
Yeah, exactly.
So he had that wherewithal. His coach just didn't have that wherewithal.
At that point, if you see your quarterback changing the play and guys are scrambling, it's a no-brainer timeout.
No-brainer.
Yeah, okay, I don't know what's going on. Timeout. We got one. Why not?
Listen, great job, Caleb, for changing the play there, but hey, we didn't have enough time for it to get done.
Chris, we're going to have to carry this over.
Yeah, we'll carry it over because we got to talk about the Chiefs game and the hit on Trevor Lawrence. So we'll kick that around when we come back. But just one last thing. One thing for Matt Eberflus,
doesn't matter anymore.
Well, it does. It does.
Eberflus.
Because every time some team messes up the end of a game now, it's going to be called an Eberflus. This was the worst one ever, and it will always be compared to this. All right. A little more on the football over the weekend when we come back. Chris versus the fans as well, 833-288-0973.
93 The Fan.
All right, we got to roll. Let's get to it because we only got about 25 minutes left on the program today before Monday Night Football. Chris Ello, Tony, Gwynn Jr., Mr. Scraby. Gwynn and Chris, 97.3 The Fan. Some Chris versus the Fans coming up. In just a minute, we got to finish up a couple of items from yesterday or the weekend in the NFL. And Scraby, I'll throw this to you. Chiefs over the Raiders. We don't need the highlight. 19-17 was the game on Friday. And some are saying
I think the highlight's good though, because it's about this situation.
All right, but let me before you get to the highlight. Some are saying Josh Allen for MVP. Some are saying Barkley. Some still have Lamar left over. Some other guys are in there. How about Greg Wilson? Who's that, you ask?
I know where he's going.
Greg Wilson was the referee in the Chiefs-Raiders game the other day.
There you go.
He is the MVP.
It is hilarious how many people are putting memes out there, tweeting things that the referees are honestly now just playing for the Chiefs after what happened.
And Carlson has missed 3 from 50-plus. Now the snap! The snap is muffed! It's covered up by the Raiders, or do the Chiefs have it? There's also a penalty flag called on the play at 11 seconds to go. Nick Bolton had the football, but they blow the play dead.
It's going to be on the offense, but it's going to be a pre-snap. Maybe a pre-snap.
This is huge because the Chiefs would have the ball, right? Bolton recovered it.
If they didn't have any of all their players lined up and set.
Here we go.
Illegal shift on the offense.
That's it.
That penalties decline.
The
Chiefs did recover the backwards pass and take over first down.
It was unbelievable.
A backwards pass. It's a snap and shotgun.
It was an unbelievable moment. Here's the thing. The Chiefs have been so lucky all season. Scraby's been on this. I've been trying to get him to calm down. But if you look at the video, the referee from the top of the screen comes running in, and he's making the motion of a false start.
And he's doing the...
I have never seen a false start turn into, nah, let's go with illegal, because a false start supersedes anything.
Yeah.
You can't have an illegal shift before a false start.
Yeah.
So how the official, and I never saw any explanation for how the officials did this. They just went in, and the ref came out, Greg Wilson, and basically said, Chiefs win. That was what he should have announced. I didn't get it. Tony, any thoughts?
I didn't see the play, so it's hard for me to speak on it.
How did you miss this? Honestly, all weekend.
Well,
they played on. They played on what, Friday?
Yeah,
Friday,
and it was on the streaming device too.
Yeah,
so
I didn't
that's
see
another
it, man.
thing.
I can tell you this, Tony.
I know that every week you come in here crying about
but this
Kansas
is legit.
City Chiefs.
But he's got my support this time, Tony, and that's pretty rare.
When the guy comes in from the top saying false start, he throws the flag, and then he asks for the time to be stopped while players are just kind of standing around. And then the Chiefs are like, okay, I'll fall on it. And then all of a sudden it's Chiefs football? Like, when did a false start become a live play? It never has been.
It usually is a dead ball right there.
Every time.
And I'm not quite sure how
No one blew the whistle?
Oh, they all blew the whistle.
blew the whistle and went like this.
They all blew the whistle. They stopped the play. Everybody thought it was a false start, and so the Raiders, even though they lost the fumble, would keep the ball because the play wouldn't count.
And I guess an illegal shift turns into a false start, but then you're back at false start. The play doesn't count.
It was weird. It was really weird, Tony. I got to tell you.
Are we just not knowing the rules on this?
It's a really, really, really deep rule.
Are we not knowing the
I'm just saying, the way you guys are explaining it, it seems pretty clear cut that it should have been one way, but it didn't go that way.
Did you hear the Chiefs color analyst saying it's going to be a pre-snap penalty? And then they were both like, what? Like, what?
It was pretty strange. I mean, honestly, the guy should have just said, Chiefs win, and walked off the field. It would have been more direct and to the point. All right, so the Chiefs do win. The other thing we wanted to touch on real quick, Aziz Al-Shair of Houston with the really dirty hit on Lawrence yesterday. Houston won the game 23-20, but here's the thing. He's apologized for this. Tony, how far does the apology get this guy? Because I really think you've got to slam a pretty good suspension on this to keep this hopefully from happening. It was really a bad shot.
Yeah, it was bad. There was
Yeah.
no, and that's why the tempers flared the way they did. Now,
Yeah.
I was glad to see that the defensive back publicly apologized. I get that in real time, those type of things they can happen, and it's unfortunate that Trevor Lawrence had to be on the other end of that, and he was concussed. He had the stiff arm.
Yeah, it was
kind of, it was scary, right? Those things don't happen nearly as much as they used to. This should certainly be a fine, perhaps a suspension, and I think it would be fair either one of those. Honestly,
Yeah.
I'm just happy to see that, despite his anger in the time, was able to come to his senses and realize he was the one that was in the wrong.
Yeah. I wrote this in the little recap here, but it was the way football used to be in the 70s.
Yes.
Butt kiss or somebody'd hit you, there wouldn't even be a penalty on that play.
Yeah. There was no rule for if he
No
starts to
rules.
slide, you can't hit him. No.
No rules. So we've come at least somehow, but that was a bad one. All right, let's go.
It was
to,
a bad one.
Let's go to some Chris versus the fans while we can.
If you had one shot, one opportunity to take down the human almanac himself,
howdy do.
Now is your time.
Listen to me, this guy is dangerous.
Now is your opportunity to win a prize.
Well, I hope you know what you're in for.
Chris versus the fans starts now on 97.3 The Fan.
All right, chance to qualify to win our grand prize 2 nights, Westgate, Las Vegas, Soul of Motown, $150 food and beverage. The Westgate features newly designed premier rooms, part of their $70 million room renovations. Award-winning Soul of Motown, high-energy, concert-style musical tribute celebrating Motown legends. It's must-see when you're in Vegas. Tickets at westgateresorts.com. Scraby, the rules.
You have to make it through 3 questions. Each question will get more difficult. If you get the question right, you move on. If you get it wrong and Chris gets it right, you're eliminated. But if Chris gets it wrong, then you move on to the next question or you win. If you're a first-time player, let us know before you get into it. You'll get that question for free today. Chris versus the fans is presented by SD Fat Loss. Lose 20 to 30 pounds in just 60 days. Visit sdfatloss.com to schedule your free consultation.
All right. You guys take it from here.
First contestant.
Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, dun,
Mario.
dun, dun.
Mario, welcome to the show. Happy Monday to you.
Mario.
Happy Monday.
Hey, Mario.
Monday. Here we
Happy
go. First
Monday.
question.
I'm off guard right now.
What NFL team was the first ever to finish a season with a record of 0-16 in 2008?
I'm going to go with the Lions.
Say it one more time.
The Lions?
Lions, he says.
They were pretty bad.
I think Scraby's just putting that in there to try and stick it to the Lions.
Too well.
Because now,
Unfortunately,
the Lions are good.
in current life,
Yeah. You know me way too well, Chris.
they're the opposite. Here we go. Question number 2. What primarily NL Central player?
I'm trying to give you a hint. I'm trying to give you guys a hint.
All right, this particular player has mostly played in the NL Central.
Okay.
Is currently atop the active games played leaderboard.
In Major League Baseball.
In Major League Baseball.
Active games
National
played
League
leader.
Central mainly.
Oh, boy. That's a tough one, I think.
Oh, man, just all those words just threw me off.
No kidding, Mario. I don't blame you, man.
So, I can't even ask the question again. What NL player?
What NL Central player is currently atop the active games played
Here, I'll make it way
leaderboard?
easier. Who's the only?
It's not supposed to be way
the
easier.
number one as an active player who's played the most games?
NL Central.
Trout? I'm going to throw a name out there. I can't even.
Now you're
Trout.
smart not to throw one out there.
Chris probably
Yeah,
knows this.
I don't know for sure. The one that came to mind is Paul Goldschmidt, and he's probably close, so I'll try him.
Goldie.
Goldie.
Wow, you're still there, Mario.
Still alive.
Andrew McCutcheon.
Ah, Kutch.
McCutcheon.
Kutch. Yes. Well, I was thinking of his days when he wasn't in the NL Central.
I mean, that was like 3 years or 2 years. Where else did he play?
I don't know. That's just
the Phillies, maybe?
Phillies.
Yeah.
He got hurt here, actually, as
He
a
did.
Philly.
He did.
That's fair. Fair
all right,
question.
Here we go. Question number 3.
All right, Mario, wrap it up. Let's go.
How about this one? Who was the first European-born player to win the NBA MVP award?
European-born.
European-born.
Born.
Sarunas Marshalunas doesn't count.
Jokic, I'm just going to throw that.
He's going with Jokic.
Stay there.
This is so tough.
You're an NBA guy.
I'm a pretty good NBA guy, but Jokic, let me see. I'm totally blank. European. I'm just thinking. Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Giannis.
Wow.
We got
Mario,
ourselves a
stay
winner.
there.
The answer, Dirk Nowitzki.
Sorry about
Did,
it.
did the Washington football team just change their name, or did you lose
WFT.
Chris the fans?
Hey, good for you, Mario.
Nice work, Mario.
It's a win, and stay on the line. You get to cash in. Hopefully, you'll be the one going to Las Vegas at the end of the month. All right. We got a couple seconds in this segment.
Should we go back to the Chiefs cheating?
No. We covered that.
Okay.
I think,
All
look,
right.
I mean, they're eventually it's the in my mind the bill is going to come due.
Yeah, me too.
They're either going to finally get whooped, or they're going to have to start beating some teams. They cannot rely on winning like magically every single game. This is the 9th win this year by less than 1 score.
That's crazy.
9.
That's crazy.
That's really strange.
All right, I was just joking anyway.
But if I don't get a chance to talk about Dan Hurley for just a minute,
oh no,
Sister's been waiting for this.
I'm flopping down.
There's
on the
book.
floor.
There's the book.
This isn't even a book thing. And the book, if you're not familiar, is reserved for people that I'm not a fan of.
Do you hear all those pages? That's how many people are in
there's
it.
a lot of people in it. I don't really dislike Dan Hurley. I mean, I have a lot of respect for the 2 championships, and he's kept us from winning. So the man can obviously coach, but his behavior is despicably bad. And in Maui last week, throwing yourself on the floor, honestly, is something that little children do. I mean,
You're not wrong.
When they're mad, you can't have that toy. I mean, that's basically what he did. I mean, come on, you're a grown adult leader of young men. Behave like such. And I know the referees aren't people in your minds out there, but they actually are. And to just be yelling obscenities at them. Now, here's the one thing in Dan Hurley's defense, because a lot of people are coming out and they're saying, you look, Krzyzewski did this for his entire career. True. Bill Self, all the time, bad language. True. I've even seen Dutcher on a sideline lose his cool. Pretty good.
No.
Not throwing himself
His hair
on the
is
floor.
too perfect to have lost his cool.
Steve Fisher once yelled at me in a summer pickup game, a summer youth game that he was, filling in as a coach for. So I understand these coaches, man. They want officials to be perfect. They get on their case. They always think they're being wronged. But Dan Hurley's behavior last week, to me, crossed over. And I think that as a 2-time champion, I didn't really like – the one line I really didn't like almost more than any other was we deserve better calls as a 2-time champion.
Yeah, that one was probably
rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
I felt the same way. I don't mind the tantrums. Remember, I grew up in an era of watching Bobby Knight hurl a chair
that's
across
right.
the floor.
I didn't even mention Robert Montgomery Knight.
So, I mean, him throwing a tantrum, I think, looks more bad for him per se.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's something that you let other teams say, right? Like, oh, they're UConn. We should expect that they're going to get these type of calls. I don't know. I can't recall the actual
beneficiary
team saying that out loud.
I should get the calls because I'm the champion.
That does sound kind of crazy.
I mean,
doesn't it?
Sounds like an NFL team we were just talking about.
There you go.
Do you
Can't
remember
sneak
the
anything
one
past
time?
Scraby.
The one time Patrick Mahomes got a penalty that went against him was the Kadarius Toney offsides. He lost his mind because they called a penalty against him. That was actually a penalty.
They didn't actually change it after he lost his mind. So
I know,
mean,
but that's
it's
Dan
irrelevant.
Hurley right there. Like, oh, they didn't give us they didn't look the other way. What the heck? I'm gonna cry on the sideline. I don't know where that came from, guys. Are you okay, Chris?
I like, you know how much I like Patrick Mahomes, but you bringing that up is accurate. The Chiefs get every call for the last 3 years. The one time was in that Buffalo game when Kelsey made the lateral, and they called it back because Tony was offsides.
Yeah.
Whether it was right or wrong, Patrick Mahomes lost his cool.
Then he
And
pushed
that
Josh
just
Allen
seemed-
out of the way at the end.
It seemed a little
Had to
odd for a guy
apologize.
that's won a lot of games on some calls in their
Thank you,
favor.
Chris. It's nice to have Chris.
I know we gotta go.
It's rare, but
you just, I guess, looked at the clip you sent me
Of the Chiefs penalty call.
Just looking at, I don't have no sound. I'm just
Yeah.
looking at the picture, the video.
Yeah.
Those flags definitely come out after that ball was snapped.
But that's not the thing. The ref was saying it's over, blowing the whistle.
you see the ref running down from the top of the screen, Tony.
They were calling the play
Yes.
dead.
Giving the illegal procedure motion.
No, he's just doing this right now. That's the only thing I see him running in.
Maybe I need to
Now,
get you another clip. That's
the illegal
longer.
motion part may happen after because I'm watching him the whole way.
He does this, and then he starts running on the field
he
like.
ain't do that, Scraby.
All right, we're gonna get to the bottom.
Send
of
him
this in
another
the break.
clip.
Yeah, we're gonna get to
Send
the
him
bottom
another
of this.
clip.
Our narrative is not yet done, Tony.
Traffic for the rest of you. Another clip headed Tony's way, and one final segment when we return.
From the 97.
Gwynn and Chris, Monday Night Football. Browns and...
Make them sweat, Scraby.
I'm going to.
Hold on. We saw it. We talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
Broncos. Browns and Broncos.
Why am I not hearing anything? There we go.
Well, that's
There it is.
different.
Let's go back to the Aztecs. 2 big wins over the weekend. Creighton, take down them by 18. Then I think they kind of bullied the bully against the Houston Cougars there. They get that victory. Wake up today, they're 24. Not mad at it. I fully expect that we get no respect.
I'm surprised they're in. I really thought they would just leave them out, even though they certainly should be in the rankings.
Yeah, no doubt. But I can make a case that they should be a lot higher. And, UConn, North Carolina, they look bad over the weekend. They somehow remain in the top 25.
UConn's 5-3. They're 5 wins. If you look at the teams
Against
they
nobody.
played, like East, Wyoming
directionals,
State,
yes.
like totally non-teams. They've only played 3 legit teams, and they lost
They've
them all.
lost all 3. Same goes for North Carolina. Very similar pattern there, but they've found a way. And this is what you and I talk about every year, right? This is where the AP poll that has no one play hurts everybody.
It's so bad. Oregon was number 38 last week. Had to move up to 12 after they won the Las Vegas tournament, beat the Aztecs on the way.
Really, they
should be higher.
I was about to say
they're behind Alabama, who they beat in the final.
They should be ahead of at this early. If you beat a team and your record is good, otherwise
you're 8-0, Alabama's 6-2, and you beat them.
You should be ahead of them.
And you also beat the Aztecs, and you also beat Texas A&M before that, who was ranked. So they beat 3 ranked teams in a row, including Alabama, but they're behind Alabama. It's not sensical.
Yeah, and I think the Aztecs should be ahead of Houston. I mean, after Houston drops to 17, the Aztecs not only look good against them, they really look good that whole tournament. Oregon was the only team that
They beat them, but
beat them.
The Aztecs lost on offensive rebounding and fouls in that game.
And that I thought that was going to cost them in this Houston game because they gave up a ton of offensive boards. The only difference was they were able to defend the second shot better because they didn't get very many points off those second
The Aztecs
chances.
also didn't play badly against Gonzaga. Don't forget that they had 2 starters out of that game.
Yes, they did.
Anyway, look, the Aztecs, the one nice thing about college basketball, they will settle it on the floor eventually.
Yes.
You don't have to worry about getting into the tournament.
No.
I think this win by the Aztecs, as long as they don't go, 5-10 in conference, they have their normal conference season, they could finish 2nd, 3rd, 4th, right in there. That's going to be good enough to get them in the tournament. Just beating Houston, I really think so.
I think the last remaining component has to be that the conference still needs to remain as good as it's been the last 2 years.
It might be a step below that, but it hasn't been bad.
Right.
They've had some good
Even when it was supposed
wins.
to be bad, it hasn't been bad. So
that's right.
If that remains the same, I think the Aztecs are in a good spot. All right.
Real quick before we go, Rod would like to tell you that you need to turn up the volume in your headphones to hear stuff. So.
They got
Wasn't
more,
that the problem last
more
week?
technology.
Wasn't that the problem last week?
Browns, Broncos next. We'll see y'all tomorrow.
Chris
Rod.